My parents told everyone I was the reason my brother vanished. They cut me off, blocked me on every platform, and made me the scapegoat for his disappearance. But they didn't know I had proof that would shatter their version of the story forever. My name's Elodie, and this is how my family erased me to protect their golden child, and how I came back to expose everything. Before we get started, where are you tuning in from? Are you in the middle of the morning rush or on a late-night drive? Drop a comment below. You're about to hear everything that happened after I made the choice that changed everything. It started with a group text, or rather, the lack of one. One day, I noticed that our family group chat was gone from my phone. At first, I thought it was a glitch. But when I went to message my mom directly, I realized I'd been blocked. Then I tried my dad. Same thing. Even my aunt and my cousin. One by one, I was shut out. No explanation, no warning. I didn't even know something was wrong until I saw my brother's missing person post on Facebook, shared by our uncle. It had been up for hours. I sat in my kitchen with the post glowing on my screen, heart racing. My brother Grant was missing? That couldn't be right. We hadn't spoken in weeks, but missing? Then I scrolled down to the comments, and that's where it hit me. Comment after comment, people were consoling my parents, talking about how family stress can push someone to the edge, and I hope Elodie understands what she's done. My name. Out there. Like I'd killed him. What had I done? I told the truth. A few weeks before Grant disappeared, I confronted him privately about taking money from my savings. I had proof. Bank transfers, logins, dates that lined up perfectly. I thought he'd deny it. Instead, he told me to get over myself and stormed out. I never told my parents. I figured he'd come clean, or at least stop. But now, suddenly, he was gone, and everyone believed I was the reason. That I'd shamed him so badly, he had to disappear. My mom had even posted a cryptic message. Sometimes tough love pushes people too far. We all make mistakes. No one reached out to me directly, no calls, no texts, just judgment, assumptions, and silence. I was erased. Overnight. I tried messaging a few close family members. My cousin read the message and never replied. My aunt said, "I think it's best if you leave the family alone for a while." I sat there staring at my phone, stunned. Hurt doesn't begin to describe it. But more than that, something in my gut told me this wasn't just panic or grief. This felt rehearsed, like someone had planted the story before I even knew what was happening. And that's when I knew. I had to find out the truth. Because if my family was willing to bury me under someone else's lies, I was going to dig my way out. What really struck me was how easily they rewrote the narrative, and how quickly everyone accepted it. My parents had always been protective of Grant, even when he made questionable choices. He was the sensitive one, the dreamer. I was the responsible sibling, the one who followed the rules, worked hard, and never made waves. But now, I was the villain in a story I didn't even get to tell. A few days after the post went viral, I received a letter. Yes, a real letter. Handwritten. No return address. It said, "You pushed him too far. I hope you're happy." That was it. I stared at the words like they might rearrange themselves into something that made sense. But deep down, I knew exactly where it came from. The handwriting was my mother's. I recognized the way she wrote her R's, curved like little loops, and the Y in happy was her signature swirl. She didn't even sign it, didn't need to. That's when I knew this wasn't just about grief or panic. This was intentional, calculated. My parents had chosen to burn the bridge and salt the earth behind me. But I still couldn't shake the feeling that something about Grant's disappearance didn't add up. I started small, looking through old photos, digging into emails and texts we'd exchanged before he vanished. I found the last message he ever sent me. "I didn't mean for it to get this bad. Please don't tell them." At the time, I thought he was referring to the money he took. But now Now I wasn't so sure. That's when I decided to call an old friend of his, Jay, a guy he used to crash with when things got tense at home. Jay was surprised to hear from me, but even more surprised when I asked about Grant. "He's missing?" Jay said. "No, he's not." My stomach dropped. According to Jay, Grant had been staying with him on and off, said he was taking a break from the drama. Apparently, he'd told Jay that our parents were breathing down his neck, pressuring him to pay back money, clean up his mess, fix his life. Jay said he hadn't seen Grant in about a week, but he was sure he wasn't missing. My heart started pounding. If Grant wasn't missing, then why had my parents gone public with the story? Why had they framed me? I didn't want to believe it, but the pieces were lining up too perfectly. I asked Jay to send me anything he had, texts, voicemails, anything recent. An hour later, I had a screenshot from just 3 days before the post went up. Grant had messaged Jay, "Might go off the grid for a bit. Let the dust settle. I'll be back." That was the confirmation I needed. This wasn't about a missing person. This was about control, about power, about my parents trying to protect the image of their son at any cost, even if it meant destroying me. But they underestimated one thing. I wasn't going to disappear quietly. I had the proof, and I was going to use it. Because if Grant could vanish by choice, and my parents could weaponize that disappearance, I could make sure the real story saw the light of day. I didn't sleep the night I got Jay's messages. I just sat at my kitchen table, phone in hand, watching the words over and over again. "Let the dust settle. I'll be back." That wasn't a message from someone in danger. It was someone avoiding responsibility and letting me take the fall for it. I kept thinking back to the timeline. My parents' viral post had gone up just 2 days after that message. They claimed he was missing, possibly harmed, likely because of the mental abuse from his sister. Their exact words. They were timing this, coordinated, not reacting, but planning. I felt sick. I started gathering everything. Screenshots from Jay, Grant's last text to me, even the bank statements showing the transfers he made without my consent. I wasn't even sure what I was going to do with it all yet, but I knew one thing. The truth couldn't stay buried. The next day, I reached out to a journalist I knew from college, Tasha. She worked for a local independent outlet that had started gaining attention for exposing shady family law cases and social media hoaxes. I explained the situation, sent her the screenshots, and waited. Within an hour, she called me. "Are you telling me your parents faked your brother's disappearance and blamed you to go viral?" "I'm telling you they knew where he was," I said. "And they used the situation to rewrite the story in their favor." She paused. "This could explode." "Yeah," I whispered. "That's what I'm afraid of." But I was also ready for the world to see what really happened. Tasha spent 3 days verifying every detail. She spoke with Jay, cross-checked the dates, confirmed the timing of the post, and Grant's last login on his cloud account. When the article went live, it hit hard. Brother missing, sister blamed, but the truth tells a different story. It spread fast. Not quite viral like my parents' post, but enough to raise serious questions. People who had called me a monster in the comments were suddenly silent. A few even messaged me apologies. The post that tore me apart began to lose traction. And Grant? Still completely off the grid. But my parents didn't back down. They doubled down. They made a new post saying I fabricated screenshots and manipulated the press, that they were being harassed for grieving publicly. They even included a statement from a distant cousin I hadn't spoken to in years, claiming I had always been jealous of Grant. That's when it hit me. They weren't just protecting Grant, they were protecting themselves. From the fallout. From the fact that they'd enabled him, covered up for him, and now needed someone else to blame. Me. But what they didn't know, what they couldn't imagine, was that I still had one more card to play. Because while they were spinning lies online, I had filed something offline, a formal complaint for defamation and fraud. And the hearing? It was just a week away. I showed up to the courthouse that morning with a folder thick enough to burst. Emails, texts, transaction records, and a printed copy of every single lie my parents had posted about me online. My hands were shaking, but my spine felt like steel. They were already there. My mom in her usual pearl earrings and carefully painted grief. My dad stiff as ever in a navy blazer. They didn't even look at me, just whispered between themselves like I was the stranger, the problem, the ghost they couldn't quite bury. The courtroom was small, quiet, and sterile. My attorney, Ms. Carroll, a no-nonsense woman in her 40s, leaned over and whispered, "Stay calm. Let the evidence do the heavy lifting." And it did. She started by laying out the timeline, the viral post, the claim that Grant was missing, the accusations against me. Then she submitted the text from Jay, the one where he said he'd be back, and a notarized affidavit confirming Jay had gone off the grid voluntarily, not kidnapped, not harmed, just hiding. Then came the bank statements. Grant had taken out over $6,000 from my account using a shared online login we'd set up years ago. He'd never deleted his access. That money had gone straight into a crypto wallet and then vanished. My parents didn't flinch when it was presented, but I watched their lawyer scribble something furiously onto a yellow legal pad. Next, Ms. Carroll played a voice message I'd nearly deleted. It was from my dad, recorded a week after their viral post went up. He didn't know it was still on my voicemail when he left it. "Look, Calla, this thing's already out there. Don't make it worse by starting drama. We just needed people to understand why we had to cut you off. Your brother's situation gave us an opening. Let it go." I glanced at them. My mother's lips pressed into a thin line. My father looked away. They knew. Their lawyer stood to rebut, but all he offered was vague talk about family tensions, emotional distress, and miscommunication during a high-stress event. Not a denial, not a defense, just smoke. Then the judge spoke. "I find compelling evidence that the defendants, Mr. and Mrs. Hayward, acted in coordination with their son to mislead the public, and in doing so, caused reputational harm to the plaintiff. The online statements constitute defamation. Furthermore, the misuse of the plaintiff's funds may be subject to further legal review." It wasn't just a win. It was vindication. Outside the courtroom, reporters were waiting. Tasha had broken the story first, but now the bigger outlets were circling. I didn't say much. Just one sentence, really. I didn't come here for revenge. I came to reclaim my name. My parents didn't speak to me. Not then, not when they passed me in the hall, not even when my mother glanced back like she wanted to say something, but didn't. And for once, I didn't chase after her silence. Because this time, I had my voice. After the verdict, the silence from my family wasn't surprising. It was expected. What did surprise me was what came next. The silence from me. I didn't post, didn't rant, didn't throw it all over social media. I just went home. The box of memories I had hidden in the back of my closet, photos, notes from Jay, holiday cards from my parents, I pulled it out, stared at it for a few minutes, then took it outside to the fire pit. One by one, I fed them to the flames. Not out of anger, but out of clarity. They had already burned our relationship to the ground. I was just finishing the job. Weeks passed. I moved out of my old apartment and into a brighter place with big windows and no ghosts. I painted the walls myself, planted lavender on the balcony, and left the door open to friends who felt more like family than anyone I shared DNA with. And then, out of nowhere, Jay showed up. He didn't call, didn't text, just knocked on my door one Tuesday afternoon, like we hadn't lived through hell. I opened it, stunned, and he looked different, less sure, less invincible. "I saw the news," he said quietly. "I didn't know it would go that far." I didn't invite him in, just stepped outside and shut the door behind me. "You let them destroy me," I said. "You could have stopped it." He didn't deny it. just stared at the ground like it might offer an excuse. I panicked, he muttered. They said if I played along, they'd clean up the mess. I didn't think they'd drag you down. I almost laughed. You didn't think at all, I said. And now you're here because what? You want forgiveness? No, he said. I want to give you this. He handed me a flash drive. Everything. Texts, emails, messages, proof they orchestrated the whole thing. Why now? I asked. Because they turned on me too, he said, and you're the only one who ever had a spine. It wasn't justice, but it was something. I took the drive and walked back inside without another word. He didn't follow. He didn't try. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel broken. I felt whole. The flash drive helped reopen my case for financial compensation. But honestly, that wasn't the part that mattered. What mattered was that I stood up. For myself. For my truth. For the girl they tried to erase. I wasn't just reclaiming my name anymore. I was reclaiming my life. What about you? Have you ever had to stand up to the people who were supposed to protect you? Have you ever been betrayed by your own blood? We'd love to hear your story. Drop a comment below. We read every single one. If you're into real-life family drama like this, make sure to subscribe for more.